Welcome, everybody. We are 19 Souls on Board. Thanks for joining us for our June development update. I mean, over the month of May, but June. We are happy to see everybody back from summer break, a couple of weeks there. Since the last update, we've had 2.5 sprints, including that time, but we've had some developers hard at work over that break. To kind of recap a little bit of where we've come in terms of data, we want to kind of come bottom line up front this time. Because we were a little bit starved for data when it came to the play testing in the past. However, we were able to reach out to Orange County Public Schools and the ACE, or Academic Center for Excellence, just down the road here. We managed to be able to get some play testing with some 6th to 8th grade students. Now, our students fall a little bit below our demographic because we're kind of looking for 9th graders. However, we were able to add to that today, and we have some preliminary feedback from that play testing, and it seems to corroborate what we have so far. So play testing with the students in 2 sessions so far. We have a 3rd session that we'll be doing on the 20th of June, aggregating that with the data from today. We believe that we're going to continue to see this. This is a very deceptive chart, however. So this chart shows the enjoyment level of the player per their opinion and the difficulty level of the player as well. And we do feel like we're kind of in a good zone of it's a little difficult and it's a little or above average on enjoyable up to an extreme level. Now, we do have some outliers. Some people really didn't enjoy the game. We suspect that they were maybe in the youngest group, and they probably also were the ones that found it most difficult. Now, the issue with this data, though, is like I said, it's a little bit deceptive, because as the devs are observing the players as well, so not just the statistical data, but what the developers are looking at is they're taking longer to solve these puzzles than we intend them to. So it's great as long as they're having fun. However, we don't want that to be a detractor from the game. And part of that lends to, we need to continue to work on readability for the game. So we will do that, and we're strategizing that over this next sprint. So among the data that we also picked up is a little bit of opinion data about our characters. And sorry, NIM, but so far we like AMBROSE better. However, a thing that's really important to note, we asked our play testers, who do you want to play? Do you want to play NIM or do you want to play AMBROSE? And they gravitated towards the character that they enjoyed, and they did prefer that play style because we also saw a correlation with, if you played NIM, you hated the cyborgs. If you played AMBROSE, you didn't care about the cyborgs, and that's part of the nature of the gameplay that we have as well. Another thing that we saw that was nice about the data is that the players did seem to think that the cooperation between the 2 players at the table was a good element for the game. That's the largest positive opinion that we have between the characters at play and the gameplay that we have. And we are happy to say that we are now up on Steam, prepared to expand our play testing. As of the latest build that we have, we finally feel like we have a build that is resilient enough that we can get some really good data back. We must admit that over the last 2 sprints, we experienced a lot of bugs that were redundant, and they were critical fails to the game, and we had to repeatedly get at those bugs. So we've been working hard on the development side and on the engineering side to squash those. So we've seen about 3 major builds for the game in the last 2 sprints, and the latest of the builds really came down to the last 72 hours as well. So that's, again, it's about the bug testing, and it's not a happy story, but we are realizing how much of an effort into the QA side of things that we need to do. To be fair, some champions have stood up to really self-criticize the game. And again, that's how we're kind of going to get to the bottom of the bugs. Again, I said it was a slow process to get to the point where we could resolve some of these bugs for good. We're hoping that we're seeing a peak right there. With the continued QA effort, we're going to hope that we can prove that over the next month. Okay, that brings us to scope cap. If it wasn't clear, as I said, we had some difficulties making sure we got into a point where we were satisfied with the build for the game over the last 2 sprints. And although this number looks good, I'm going to tell you right up front, one of the decisions we made, and it was a critical decision that we made on Friday. We're cutting 3 puzzles. Those 3 puzzles are a huge time sink in terms of development and also bug testing for those. And they were a detractor of the 7 remaining puzzles that we have in the game. And we realized that this is a portfolio game, and it's better that we have a highly polished work than a whole bunch of mediocre puzzles. There is a possibility that if devs, out of their own love and interest in a puzzle getting back into the game and they want to commit to personal crunch, we're not going to schedule that. We're going to focus on the 7 puzzles that we have currently. So what this chart reads is the last in the current sprint. So sprint 10 is the one we finished up. Sprint 11 is the one that we're going into today. The last sprint we scoped out at 92.95% for scope cap. That was based off a 10% margin of error. And again, based off of the most recent issues that we've been dealing with on the bug testing. We have gone into this sprint with a 15% margin of error. So though we are scoped a little bit higher at this point, we are pulling back and giving us a little bit of extra room to make sure that we're on track. Okay, and this does lead us up to the update. So all bad news aside, we're really hoping that what you're about to see is going to be somewhat enjoyable in terms of the remaining puzzles that are in the game. There's a lot of energy that's gone into the art updates for this. We have come up with some resolutions for our rendering pipeline. So you'll see that our frames per second are a little bit higher than they were in the past. We're reaching around the 60 and above mark. We do have one puzzle, and I'll show you that here in just a second, where we dip into the 40% range. But there is a reason, and we're going to work on that to fix that. So in our first case here, I'll just pause it real quick. This is Mind the Gap. This is very simply one artifact, one type of platform. It's a static platform. And all we need to do is make sure that we go over the pits and don't fall below the world. Okay, and as you can see in this particular puzzle, we're pushing into the development of the artifact platforms that we have. That VFX I'll address a little bit more later, but we do have some features that are reminiscent of the previous that we're trying to work out as far as that is concerned. Also, there are some green lights that you've seen in the area. We don't want to be that on the nose with it. We want to help guide the player to help them understand where they're trying to go and what they're trying to do and what tools are available to them. Again, the difficulty of these puzzles reads a little bit more difficult than I think we intended originally. So we want to make sure that we're assisting the player to keep them in that nice flow. But again, we're encouraged by their level of excitement already. In this particular puzzle, this is the steam roller puzzle. And at this stage, Nim is going to need to climb on a ball to roll it over to some trash, knock the trash down in order to clear the way for their movement. And Ambrose is going to have to assist by using a single artifact platform to block the steam that is otherwise going to kill her. And there's a bug. So in this case, we've actually found the end of the scene, so we can move on to the next puzzle. So again, we are dealing with bug issues. Some of our solutions to some of the problems with the design of the puzzles, we introduce new bugs that we have to kill, but hopefully they're resulting in better design situation. With regards to this puzzle here, this one is the gear escalator. I've been told I spell this one wrong. The gear escalator is the idea that you can use a bunch of steampunk gears to move around the world, which AMBROSE is going to need to do because the bounce platform is usable primarily, or excuse me, is usable by NIMUE. So you'll see that there's an exciting little jump there that if she didn't use that platform, she's going to die in the world. And you'll see that AMBROSE is going to use the gears for movement. So a quick note about lighting in that level. You might have noticed that we got down to 37 frames per second. We also have a lot of moving parts in there. I think there's over 820 gears that are in motion in that area. So we are still investigating that, but we are using our rendering pipeline to mitigate lighting issues in the environment. A note also, just for those who are remotely watching, every one of the videos that we have in the update today are uploaded on the 19 Souls on Board YouTube channel. Hopefully you'll get some better image quality than what Zoom's providing you now. Okay, and if you didn't see that or notice that already, we've actually added a third platform type. That is our gravity platform. AMBROSE utilized placed a platform in the environment in a set of gears teeth that did not interact with the environment. However, when NIMUE changed it to the gravity platform, it broke the gears and the two of them were able to safely pass through. What we also introduced in this level is the idea of a second artifact, and we now have a plank that we can run a distance of and not just a single platform. Okay, moving into I'm gonna call this the wrong name. I do it all the time. Ray, correct me. Is it? No, this is one of the leverage puzzles. Platform lever. Thank you, it's platform lever. Okay, so in platform lever, we're gonna utilize the gravity platform again, yet this time we're introducing the idea of a fulcrum. The fulcrum is probably the most difficult puzzle concept that we've used so far and has the lowest readability among the players. We are looking at environmental signals to including lighting, stickers and voiceovers and perhaps even text on the screen to get this idea across. It's a simple puzzle if you know how to do it. So basically, you're going to see that we have this horizontal rod on the right side where NIMUE's screen is. We're going to use that as a fulcrum. And the player is going to place an artifact on the far side wall there on the right side. The other artifact is going to be placed in the environment on the other side of this fulcrum, creating a lever that Ambrose can stand on one side while NIMUE stands on the other, and he will elevate her into the air so that she can get to a console that they're going to use to open the door. Of course, as you can tell, we're still working on the VFX for the platform, but we are pleased to see the gears in there. As you can also tell, sometimes platform placement is a little bit, or excuse me, artifact placement is a little bit difficult. We are using snap points, but we are needing to adjust their size and location in order to get the targets where they need to be. Okay, in this particular case, we are dealing with, Ray, correct me, I'm losing my name. Thank you. This is quick pull. So in quick pull, we have a similar concept as what was introduced in the very beginning. You saw that there was a cyborg in the area, and NIMUE had to avoid them. So we know that NIMUE is harmed by cyborgs by the time we get here. We also have a plank-sized platform that will manage to cross distance gaps. So we're additionally introducing the idea here is that you can extend the distance or an area that a cyborg will travel, and that NIMUE can actually trick that cyborg into doing a thing. So between NIMUE and AMBROSE, we're going to create a series of platforms that guide a cyborg over a pit. And when the cyborg falls into the pit, that will actually release the door so that they can go through it. Okay, and our final puzzle here, we're going to introduce the gravity platform again and use another fulcrum, but in a different way. And this introduces the idea to the player that they can use the gravity platform to interact with the environment, as in to cause objects to move in the environment. So this fulcrum will be pressed upon by a piston, and as a result, this platform will be pressed upon by a piston, and as a result, it's going to move a box that is blocking the door that they need to travel through. And that takes us to the end of the puzzles. So an irritatingly common thing that we found with AMBROSE at this point is that, you can't train a bear sometimes. We did a lot of work, or put a lot of work into making sure that that walk animation actually effectively hit the ground and he had some traction. But of course, we've swapped out models. So immediately implementing a new model, having a minimal number of animations on him right now, in order to be able to create that state machine, we have to train him all over again. So we're going to be working on that pretty heavily because the skating is pretty bad. But on NIMUE for a minute, we do have a new rig, new state machine, and new animations for her. So these we should be moving in finality for what we're doing for her. This is an idle. And here's a run. And she's looking pretty, we think she's looking pretty good on the ground. Obviously, everything can be tweaked a whole lot more. And then eat your heart out, Michael Jackson. We got a backwards walk. Okay, so we can actually walk on the ball and not look ridiculous at this point. And again, as I said with AMBROSE, we've got some newness going on here. So at least in a stationary form, he looks okay. We're going to continue to work hard on fixing that. By the way, the tech designers really kind of stepped up to help, and we're learning how to do some animations in the world. This should illustrate that he cannot jump. And to be fair, he really feels like he can't jump anymore. This has been a struggle. Every now and then you get into the game and suddenly he can move great distances, but we're fixing the design. We're maintaining the fact that this guy's heavy, and really his business is about putting down platforms. Okay, and then a few more for the cyborgs. We realize we have cyborgs building cyborgs in a factory. Well, they got to have tools, right? So that first animation is a screwdriver, and this second one is a hammer. So as we push forward, we should see a lot more cyborgs in the levels. We want to kind of amp up that threat level to NIMUE. To be fair, it's a little exciting if you play her and you got a cyborg running after you. VFX, as you've seen, we got a little bit more going on with the platform. I really would love to see this one in play, but this is a 3 artifact platform you're about to see. I mean, that's just a load of gears, isn't it? So a happy little happenstance chance here. You'll notice that the gears change color when AMBROSE walks on them. It wasn't expected, but we're going to keep it. Okay, and a little bit about our lore involves using lightning to activate our cyborgs. So pressing into this a little bit, we finally got some lightning that's really useful in the game. You may not have noticed it before, but there is a Vitruvian man type device up top there that a cyborg might sit in and be struck by lightning. And additional VFX we have include fire for when we blow this thing up. And an explosion for the very goal of blowing it up. That stated, we are grateful the additional support that we have from our newest contractor, ANIKET RAJNISH, who is hoping to join the Cohort 20 here in a couple of years. It's been really cool working with him out of India, but I got to tell you, as you all understand, you had a time zone and things get a little bit difficult. So India being 9.5 hours in advance, we're appreciative of TechArt's ability to work with him. And on the music and sound front, the music's just amazing. So Mike has really done a good job with the music that we've had so far. He just rolled in about 90% of the rest of the requirements that we have for the project. So we now have music for the basement, the ground floor, the upper floor, for the initial final piece of the game and to include the final actions that would take place with our hero asset. So we're going to give you a sample here, but we'll only need about 5% left, and that is the remaining part of the main theme for the game. So on the music front, here's a couple of pieces to take a taste. It's a little introduction to the ground floor music. And this next piece is, I believe it's called The Head. And this will be the top of our hero asset. Okay, perhaps more of that in the future. Okay, in the meantime, on the sound side, we've had delivery of additional sound effects, include electric art, 2 sets of footsteps, lightning strike, and hissing steam. We expect to receive the balance of those requirements here over this sprint 11. Also this week, we're scheduling out all of the voiceovers for NIMUE, which will hopefully give us our verbal cues. And a little peek at the UI right now. So the menus that we have in the game cover most of the general stuff that you would expect or hope to find in the game. You can adjust volume, screen resolution, screen size. You could windowize the game. But the coolest thing that I thought was on here, not that I'm colorblind, but I have colorblind teammates, is that we can do 3 different types of colorblind corrections for the gameplay as well. And just for some final thoughts, the most difficult stuff that we did over the last 2.5 sprints, really over the last week, was when the decision-making process was to kill our babies. 3 of those levels we think had some of the most powerful design that we have, and again, it was a critical choice. We understand that we have to be governed by the idea that this is a portfolio game, and we have a lot of perfection to do. So this current sprint, the theme of this sprint 11 is to really polish the hell out of the game. And the reason why is because we want to go into post-production with sprint 12 with a firm resolution that we are going to be coming out at the top of August on Steam, but we'll also be proud of the product that we're coming out with. So again, thank you for joining us. And as always, we'd like to leave you with one last thought. So again, thank you.
We are 19 souls on board.
We are 19 souls on board.
We are 19 souls on board.
We are 19 souls on board. Thank you for watching.